Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Post to Post. Thank you for joining me for this one. We're not talking jerseys today, we're talking the NHL, and specifically NHL teams and how far they have to travel during an entire season, or specifically this upcoming season. I have a graphic for you. Actually, I have two graphics for you. The first is not provided by me. It's provided by someone on Twitter by the tag CRSMTL, Chris Montreal, basically. So definitely go follow them. Really good sports guy. Really good person to follow on Twitter. Now, he created this chart where it shows every single NHL team, the amount of distance in kilometers of miles that team travels during their season. You know, every team in the NHL travels. They have away games. They've got to travel there. They've got to fly there. Sometimes they take the bus. But I think this is pretty much aviation specific. So I have the chart. I want to bring it up and I want to show you there's a lot to talk about, a lot to go through. So let's just bring it up right away and we'll talk through it. I've not studied this. This is really, I looked at this for 60 seconds and I was like, okay, this is a pretty cool video idea. Let's bring it up on the screen and let's kind of talk through this together so we can discover some things together here. So the title says scheduled travel distances for NHL teams in 2025-2026 based on flying distance between arenas, including back flight at Christmas, Olympic break, and after last game. Little things like the Christmas break, Olympics, and after the last game of the season, that's the little things that you need to take into consideration when you're doing something like this and you're dealing with this amount of data. So you can see 32 NHL teams there. They're ranked based on total amount of kilometers or miles traveled by most to least. He's noted the trips, the legs, the latitude and longitude of every team. This is amazing. So I'm a little bit shocked by a couple of the rankings here, and this isn't a subjective ranking, okay? This is a data-based ranking, so you can't really fault anyone for it. So there were a couple of ones that kind of stood out to me. Now, I will note that the Nashville one and the Pittsburgh one, he has in brackets without Sweden trip. So those teams are traveling to Sweden to play a game, so not including those specific trips, because obviously that's a significant amount more of kilometers. So at the top, we've got Dallas, so it's 81,764 kilometers, and to my American friends, that's 50,806 miles. And at the bottom, we've got the New York Islanders with 46,698 kilometers and 29,017 miles. So that's a pretty big difference. That basically means that the Dallas Stars fly or travel almost twice the amount in distance as the Islanders. That's huge. That means that those players are spending twice as long in the air as an Islanders player. Now, is that fair? No, it's not fair, but geography isn't fair. It's not like the city of Dallas can move closer to other teams. It is what it is, right? A couple of other notable things here. Buffalo Sabres are at the bottom. There's a couple of teams that are kind of close to Buffalo, like geographically. You've got Toronto on the other side of the water. Pittsburgh's not too far. Columbus isn't too far. You could technically take a bus to a couple of those cities, and that does happen. Like Montreal will play Ottawa. Sometimes they'll take a bus. They won't fly because the amount of time that it takes to get to the airport, to clear security, to get on the plane, to fly there, get off the plane, go through security, get to the arena or the hotel. It's just quicker to take a bus. Sometimes that happens between Montreal and Ottawa. That absolutely happens between the Rangers and the Islanders for sure. Some players might even take a helicopter. Okay, so there are certain situations where teams would not fly. Same with the Devils and the Rangers. Same with the Devils and the Islanders. Do you think the players in Anaheim are flying to Los Angeles? They're not. This is not happening. So there are situations, geographical situations, that definitely benefit certain teams. One thing that I thought was very interesting was the legs section that he has here. So legs in terms of okay, hypothetically, Toronto's on a road trip. Toronto goes out west, okay? They go to Calgary, they go to Edmonton, they go to Vancouver, they go to San Jose, LA, and Anaheim, and they fly home, okay? So a leg is basically every section of that trip. So if you look at the legs portion here, the Dallas Stars have 60. That's quite a bit compared to all the other ones. But if you look at the number that's the lowest, we've got some in the low 50s, and specifically the Florida Panthers. They've got 53 legs, which is the least amount of legs, at least in the first glimpse here of those numbers, in the entire NHL. So the team that is technically the best in the NHL has the least amount of travel legs in the entire league. Additionally, they only have 13 actual trips. I don't understand. I don't understand the data totally for that one and maybe a couple of the other ones, but they still travel 64,099 kilometers or 39,829 miles. And I guess my only question here would be, how do you know which teams would take a plane versus take a bus in certain situations? I don't know if that data or that information is publicly available. And additionally, I don't know if it's publicly available this far in advance. You might be able to look back on a previous season and see. I don't know how you do that, but maybe the information is out there and available. But regardless, it's even if it's not completely accurate information. Let's just say it's 95% accurate. Okay, it's still close enough where it's, let's look at a visual. Let's look at a visual map. Let's bring it up. I'll take a screenshot. I've got like a saved Google map section on my Google account that has all the NHL teams just in a map format. So I'm going to bring that up, and we can correlate some of the stuff. So look at this map, and you can see, look at Dallas. It's in the middle of nowhere compared to the rest of the teams. Of course they're going to be the highest or the top-ranked team in terms of how far they have to travel. They're not even close to any other team. To take a bus from Dallas to the closest team would be Dallas to St. Louis. That's not logistically feasible. It's nonsensical. It makes absolutely no sense. But then you look at Buffalo. Look how close the Toronto Maple Leafs are. They could take a bus there. Look, you've got 3 teams in the New York region or the New York City region. Washington's right there as well. Philadelphia is there. They could hypothetically take a bus to Boston. Look how close Ottawa and Montreal are. I mentioned that. Anaheim and LA very close. Vancouver's likely flying to Seattle just because of the border. It's just, they don't want to be stopped at the border with a bus. It's just easier to fly, even though they are close. Tampa and Florida probably flying, but you never know. Maybe they'll take a bus. I don't exactly know. So you can kind of see the, I guess, visual correlation to the data if you look at the map. Like, it does kind of make sense. If you look at the second ranked team, which is the San Jose Sharks, they're the team that will travel the second most in the NHL. Well, look where San Jose is. It only has a couple of teams that are close, but even Los Angeles, like, that's a 4-hour drive. Not including traffic. It might be 5 hours. It might be 6 hours. Anaheim as well. Vegas is going to be a little bit more than that. Vegas is likely 7-8 hours away from San Jose if you want to drive. San Jose is not driving to Seattle, and San Jose is on the coast of the Pacific. If they have to go all the way to Boston, that's them flying across the entire continent. Where most teams are on the East Coast, that means there's a lot of flying back and forth for San Jose. And the same with Dallas, north, south, and east, west. They're at the bottom in the middle. So if they've got to go to Edmonton, if they got to go to Vancouver, even San Jose, up to Montreal, like even down to Florida, like every team is far from Dallas. So I like the visual aspect of that. You can make correlations to the data with a visual map. Oh, and you can see me up there on the top right. So in case you didn't know, I do live in Canada. I do live on the East Coast, and I live in a city called Moncton, which is kind of close to the Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia border. So if I just scoot back to the data, I just want to look at it one more time so I can see if there's other correlating interesting stuff here with the map. Yeah, if you look at the bottom teams, the Islanders, Sabres, Maple Leafs, Red Wings, Devils, Senators, Canadiens, all those teams are very close to one another. Like that whole area in the Northeast, there's so many teams there that you might take a bus sometime. And even if you were flying, it's not that long. So there are some teams that travel for a game that will spend more time in a plane than 3 periods of hockey during a game. So, it is what it is. You can't really change that. That's just geography. That's just the NHL. And it's not the NHL. It's the NBA. It's the NFL, Major League Soccer, whatever. This is a sports, I was going to say problem. It's not a problem. It's just reality. It is what it is. But it's super interesting. So I thank Chris, CRS Montreal on Twitter. Definitely go give him a follow. Thank him for putting this together. I don't think he expected me to make a video about it, but I think it's really interesting. I think a lot of you will find this interesting as well. Feel free to discuss down below in the comment section. Do you see any mistakes in here? Do you have any questions? I'm sure Chris has a Google account, and he can comment down below. To anyone with any questions, I probably have some questions as well. So maybe I'll see you down below in the comment section, and we can talk to Chris there. So once again, thanks, Chris, for putting this together. Thank you to everyone who's watching this, and we'll see you in a future video tomorrow, actually, talking about the Colorado Avalanche and the potential Quebec Nordiques jersey coming out pretty soon. They teased us with some helmets, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. And then later in the week, we'll talk about some jersey concepts and have some fun, and there may or may not be a jersey unboxing somewhere in between all of that. So we got lots to talk about this week. Hope you guys are having a good night. We'll talk to you soon. Adios.